What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Your Ex-Drinking Buddy. My name is Brennan Tassif. I'll be your host. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com/merch-store. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll put the shorts up there, the full video, the whole thing. Thank you so much for listening. I love it. I hope you love it. Subscribe on Patreon, too. We do bonus episodes. I do Tales from the Restaurant, where I talk about celebrities I've waited on and whether they're assholes or not, which is super fun. Also, we do a pre-show banter for my other show, Cheers from the Press Box with Joe Dorville. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on over there, too. Make sure you just subscribe everywhere, just all over the place. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're not leaving the mean comments, thank you for that. Maybe leave a couple nice ones.
Grab me your beer and grab me a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host. There's going to be a graphic there. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite things to do: hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do: hang out with somebody and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I'll be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from Brooklyn, New York, Lucy Shelby. Ah! What's up?
This is fun.
Okay, all right.
I feel like I'm on a roller coaster or something.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. There's a lot of, it's a very, very high energy intro on the show. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Before we get too far into anything,
Okay.
Plug everything up front. You have a play coming out. Let everybody know where they can see it. It'll be linked in the show notes, but tell everybody about it.
In my brain, there's like millions of people over there.
It's just a few thousand, but...
I'm like, everybody.
And most of the people are just listening. They're not even watching.
Oh, that's right. So we're doing a play. It's called Georgia Mertching is Dead. It's by Katja McMullen, and it's at Brooklyn Art House, which is in Williamsburg. It's this great theater, which is fun because there's a bar, but they also...
Hello.
But there's also... yeah, it's just a really amazing space because they're trying to bring that vibe of like you do art and then you hang out and you talk and
Oh, okay. So kind of
like
like an
I love.
old school sort of like salon, as it were.
Yeah. So it's a great spot, and
I think I'm using that term correctly. I'm not sure.
yes, that feels correct, like a salon. And but it's a beautiful play. It's about the woman who wrote it is in recovery, and it's about essentially these four women who got sober together. Now they're in their 30s. They're having kids. Their friend Georgia has 3 kids, and she kills herself at 19 years sober with a 6-week-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so then like these 3 women, and my character is 8.5 months pregnant, are going to the funeral because I'm giving the eulogy, and essentially, I'm not spoiling it all, I promise. It's just setting it up. So, like, essentially, like, we have to go to this funeral, and then the stakes are high because I'm super pregnant, and there's all these. It's just about like friendship and recovery and loss and everything. So.
It is a surprising thing because I've been sober for a little while now. It is a surprising thing. When someone in recovery, because like when you're in the middle of the boat, you're kind of like, oh, I'm good. Like,
yeah.
I'm good. And then when something like that, because I've had that happen, and you're like, wait, we're supposed to be good. Like, we're in it. We're supposed to be good.
Yeah.
But of course, that's not always the case. So that's a heavy play.
It's heavy, but it's also really fucking funny.
Yeah.
And these women, what I love about it is they're super vulgar. Like my character, she's just fucking has a foul mouth. Mm-hmm. She's vulgar, And I feel like it writes, because sometimes like I feel like we write about recovery, or people write about like alcoholics, and it's in this, or suicide, and it's in this like really precious way. And it's like, I love this, how the writing, because it's not precious.
It's very real.
It's real.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, it's not, when you're a drunk that's now not a drunk, you're still a fucking drunk.
Yeah.
You're
just a sober alcoholic.
You're still just as insane and wild and like vulgar mouthed as you were, with maybe a little bit more tools to have some stability.
Yeah, and it's, well, to that point, it's a crazy thing because I've always used comedy as my coping mechanism. Even when I was drinking, I still used comedy. So I make jokes now, and my girlfriend Tracy, who's a school teacher, she's a civilian, she's not used to it. So sometimes something terrible will happen, and my first reaction is to make a joke about it.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, "What? How could you? What? And I'm like, "Oh no, this is just how I respond." And it's interesting because when you're around other people like us, whether it's comedians or other people in recovery, they're just like, dude, that's hilarious. But when you're around regular people, they're like, how could you say such a thing? And you're like, oh, all right, relax.
I know. I feel like sometimes it's a New York thing too, because like New York humor, I feel we can be really dark and like crass, just because like you're on the subway and someone's like screaming in your face or like shitting, it's like we're very. And I remember, like, I used to love to joke about suicide, like, I'm going to kill myself, and I was in California, and people were, like, horrified. Like, are you going to? And I'm like, what? Like, this is how we talk, Like, I'm going to fucking die. Like, I'm going to go slit my wrist.
And then people are like, you can't talk like that. It's like, yeah, I can, actually.
I'm like,
watch.
Because I've actually had those thoughts, so fuck off.
So let's talk about it. You're here in New York now.
Yeah.
You've lived quite an interesting life.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, because the one thing I always like to ask my guests is because art in general is pretty niche, and you do acting and comedy. So how did you, at a young age, were you like, this is what I want to do? Or how did you even find it? Like, where did you grow up? How did you get into it? Like, who introduced you to it?
Well, so my name is Lucy. I was named after I Love Lucy.
Oh, okay.
The TV show. So I grew up, like, my mom's like, you're not named after Lucy Ricardo. She had a thing. I mean, Lucille Ball. She had a real thing against Lucille Ball. She didn't think she was a nice person.
There are some stories out there that she was pretty.
Like, Lucy Ricardo is who you're named after, the character.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, very specific. And my mom, anyway, she loved I Love Lucy. So I grew up watching I Love Lucy, Carol Burnett, Dick Van Dyke, all these like physical comedians. I fucking loved it. And then essentially when I was in 7th grade, I got the lead in the play. Because like in 6th grade, I bombed. Like I auditioned and I fucking bombed, and I got an add-on part.
Ooh.
It was terrible. I was like pig farmer's daughter. And it was really sad.
And then you were like, never again.
Never. No, it wasn't until 8th. So then in 8th grade, something happened. I fucking got the lead because it was a comedic role. It was called like the final dress rehearsal. It's like Cinderella, but it's a play within a play.
Okay.
And the woman.
Very meta.
Very meta. The girl who's playing Cinderella, who was me, is a ditz. She's late. She's confused. Like, and I was like, this is fucking great, Like,
I was born for this.
Yeah. And people started laughing.
Sometimes they say the role finds you.
Yeah, true. And like, then people were laughing, and I was like, oh my God, like, I think there's something here, And then like all throughout high school, I was like on the dance team, but I wasn't like the cool dancer. I was like still I had this one thing where I somehow was in my mom's wedding dress, but I slipped and tripped and like got it over my head. And,
oh, really?
Yeah. And then this is real too. In high school as well, I was in My Fair Lady as a dancer, but not as a joke. I was dancing and my shawl flipped over my head and then got stuck to a button.
Okay.
In the middle of the piece. So
and you just rolled with it.
Yeah, and I had a hat on, so I was like completely veiled, and I could hear the people laughing. Like,
and you were like, "I love this. This is my thing.
This is it.
We're doing it."
Yeah. So like, then I went. Yeah. So and I was a dancer, so I either wanted to be an actor or a dancer. Mm-hmm. But then I also did a fucking was Steel Magnolias in high school.
Oh,
And
wow.
I played the dramatic, like the mom, and I was really good at crying, like, and being like sad.
Something we got.
Yeah. So like,
I'm really good at it too.
yes, I can tell.
I think it has something to do with my bipolar, but I will cry at an extra gum commercial.
I know.
Like when the dad, or like there's that Toyota commercial that was running not too long ago, where the daughter is like in the old truck and she
Yeah.
like is like her dad's leaving her a voicemail. So the VO's in the background and it's her driving the truck and he's like, I just want you to know I miss you.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, ah! That's the truck that they built back together.
Yes.
So I completely understand that sentiment where it's like you get a dramatic thing and you're like, oh, I like doing this too.
This is fun. Yeah. And that's why the play is so fun, because like she is so vulgar and crazy, but also like there was a suicide.
Yeah,
And it's like really
there's also
sad.
very dark moments. Yeah.
So I'm like, this is fun. But so then essentially I moved to New York when I was 18.
So where were you from originally?
Oh, from Colorado and St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So where did you spend the most, did you do Colorado first and then St. Louis?
Yeah. So my parents got divorced when I was like 9.
Okay.
And then I went with my mom to St. Louis. Then I went back because my mom married a French man with 5 children. And I was just like,
Ooh la la.
I was like, ooh,
Ooh,
la,
no.
oh, poo poo.
Oh, poo poo.
And so I was like, fuck this. I'm going back to Colorado.
I'm going to dad's.
Yeah. And then
I'm out.
My dad was so sad and living on an air mattress. Actually, this is kind of funny and dark, but he was living in the basement of our friend's house on an air mattress, overlooking 3 different houses from our past that we had lived in. So it was just like extra sad. And then I was like, Dad, can we move out of this neighborhood?
Was it because my very good friend Matt Fulcheron has a very good bit that he used to do about air mattresses where he's like, they say like get great for camping trips, but it's more like great for economic disaster, divorce, mild drug addiction.
Yes. Exactly.
So was it after the divorce he just was like, just that's what he was doing? Or was it a thing where he's like, no, I want to save some money, so I'm going to live with my buddy? I mean, I don't want to pry too much, but that seems...
I don't know. Maybe I probably should ask him.
Well, just because I only asked that because for you to move in and be like, hey, can we move? It seems like he might have had the means to be like, yeah, let's get out of here. Or did you guys stay there for a while?
He was sad.
Okay. That makes sense. Just want to be
sad
with his buddy, yeah.
and depressed. And he also, I don't know, you're a dude, you might know more, but like, you know how sometimes like dudes like don't like care as much about like the house or the
1,000%.
Yeah. And so,
That's what I was thinking, because there have been plenty of times where I've been homeless.
yeah.
Like I've been like, and not like, begging for money on the street kind of thing, but like I don't have a permanent address.
Right.
Like I'm not welcome back with my family because
Right.
of my,
Addiction.
drinking and drug
Yeah.
addiction. And also like I can't afford to pay rent. So I've like stayed on people's couches and just been like, oh, this'll work.
Yeah.
And like to your point, like I guess it might be a dude thing. It might be like a lack of self-respect thing. But I was just kind of like, oh, this is fine. Like I don't need much more than this.
Yeah. I think it was that and, just.
Yeah. When I stayed with my cousin, when my addiction got real bad, right before I hit my bottom, I guess a few years before I hit my bottom, I moved in with my cousin in Oklahoma City because I just had run out of, I had gotten a settlement from a car accident, spent close to $30,000 in less than a month in Daytona. Like had nowhere else to go. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to spend that much money in Daytona, but I did it.
Good job.
And I had nowhere else to go. And I called my cousin. He's like, oh, you can stay with me. He's like, I have a spare room, but it's more of an office. And there's no bed in there, but we have an air mattress. I lived there for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And the only reason I left was because I went to rehab.
Right.
But I was like fine with living there. And so I guess, to your point, it never struck me as like, oh, I should really get my stuff together and get my own place. Like I had said that to his girlfriend at the time because she was kind of like, why is your cousin still
Right.
here? But I had no intentions of actually doing that.
But honestly, like, I think it's also an addict thing because, like, when I taught yoga in the Hamptons.
Ooh.
Woohoo! That's my claim to fame. No, just kidding. But I lived there. I was still drinking. I was like a drunken yoga teacher, which is really hot. And
that's the name of the episode.
a drunken yoga teacher. That's kind of me in a nutshell. But anyway, so then they gave me a house and a car for the summer gig.
Really?
Yeah. I had this amazing
What?
Jeep.
This is a sick yoga gig.
It was, but then the funniest part is I started out with this cool Jeep, and I would like put my surfboard in it, and I felt really cool. Then she was like, "Oh, we have to give that to someone else. You have to take the yoga car." It was an orange Bug with flames.
Yeah.
It said Hot Yoga Hamptons, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is demoralizing." Driving around the Hamptons in this fucking advertisement car. But anyway, so I didn't have the house anymore because the summer was over. So I moved into my friend's house in Hampton Bays, and she had like a storage room that was filled with shit. And an air mattress.
Yeah, and you were just like,
and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good place to live.
I say it all the time, and again, it might be the addict mentality. I don't know what it is, but I have slept on floors. I've slept outside. I've slept in cars, hospital rooms, like jail cell floors. So like sometimes people like my girlfriend, when we go to like somewhere, like sometimes we'll get a hotel and you think, oh, this is going to be a nice hotel. And then you get there and it's not that nice. And I don't know if it's because I've been sober for a while, but I am getting more and more like
picky.
Yeah. Where I'm like, oh, this kind of stuff. But like, I remember going back home when I had no money for like the holidays and I wasn't staying with my family. Cause again, I wasn't really permitted to. And it's not even that. It's just one of those things where it's like, I want to drink. I want to get fucked up.
Yeah.
And I know that makes you guys uncomfortable. So I'll save everyone the trouble and I'll just find a spot. And I stayed at like a Motel 6, like on the strip that people only use for bike week and race week in Daytona. And it was neither bike week or race week. Yeah. So it was just dilapidated. And I remember being like, this is awesome. I got my own place.
I know. Well, it was a big deal. It wasn't until 2020 where I bought a mattress.
Oh, really?
Like, it was the first time I was like 30. Wait, how old am I? I think I was 35.
Yeah.
So it was the first time in my entire adult life that I bought a mattress. Like, it had always been like I ended up on someone else's mattress or like I got a mattress.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
that's actually crazy that you bring that up. Mine was after the breakup in 2022.
Yeah.
Because it's always been like, oh, this is my mattress from my childhood room that they're throwing out. So I just took it. Or like when I lived on campus, I just they have a bed there. And like every mattress I've ever had was someone else was getting a new mattress and they were just throwing away their old one.
Right.
And it wasn't until 2022 where I was like, and at that time, I was, 4 or 5 years sober. And I had, you start saving a little bit more money and stuff like that. I was shocked at how expensive. I was like, oh, I'll treat myself. I sleep. I work at night. Like, I sleep late. Like, I'll get a good mattress. Then when I went online, I was like, not going to get a good mattress. These are expensive as shit.
Well, I ended up getting my mattress for free.
Oh, really?
Because this is like, I feel like sober meets addict. Like, it worked out for me. Because
I have a lot of those in my life.
I wanted an organic mattress because I'm a yoga teacher.
Because I have to fit this certain stereotype.
I want to like be on brand.
Yeah.
But and so I ordered from this one company, but then I can't remember. And then I found a different organic company that I like better. There was a better deal. So then I canceled the one and got the other one. They still sent me the mattress.
Of course.
So then I was like, oh, fuck. And then I was like, do I keep the mattress? Like, what do I do? Because they'd already refunded me. So then I ended up canceling the new one and keep that mattress. And then I was having this whole like moral crisis.
Yeah, of
I
course.
was like,
because you stole it.
Do I tell them? Yeah. So then I tell them, I'm like, you sent me the mattress, but you refunded me. Like, I didn't want the mattress, but anyway, they were like, you can't send it back, so it's fine.
Oh, wow.
So I cleaned my conscience.
Yes, that's awesome because stuff like that, I don't know if this was your experience, but I remember being so shady when I was in active addiction.
So shady.
Like the worst kind of shady.
Yeah.
And my one rule, and I say that loosely, my one rule, as the Joker would say, was I wouldn't steal. But I would lie and manipulate where you were basically stealing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like I wouldn't physically take something and put it in my pocket.
Oh, I was a big shoplifter.
But I would also like manipulate my way into like getting money from people. And so it's basically the same thing. But in my head, I was like, there's a distinction. I don't steal. But I used to do that kind of shit all the time where I would like buy something and then like on Amazon especially, and then this is back in the day when Amazon would just refund you immediately, no questions asked, and they'd be like, oh, just return it, and then I wouldn't return it, and then I would cancel the credit card or or like get a new debit card and be like, my card was stolen, so they couldn't charge me again. I used to do stuff like that all the time, and I'd be like, well, it's not stealing.
I love it. I love the work you put in.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
effort.
Well, and we say it all the time. I mean, I say it to people where it's like, you see people in certain situations and you go, this seems like such hard work. Like,
can't you just
just put it like, I mean, I'm guilty of that. I used to wake up, do a couple shots so I could drive to work. This is when I was living in Florida, and I would be at work and I would make up all these excuses why I had to like walk, because I was a server at a brunch place. So it'd be like 7 a.m. We're getting crushed for the breakfast rush. And I would make this excuse as to why I had to like step off the floor to like step outside for a second, just so I could run out to my trunk, open my trunk in the middle of Florida summer to chug hot vodka out of my trunk just to come, like and it's like, if you just put that same amount of effort into being a good server, like I would have made so much more money.
It's wild. I know. Well, it's just like the way you think, because it reminded me of when I was in college. I figured
Where'd you go to college?
Well, I went to Marymount Manhattan College.
Okay.
And then I studied abroad in London.
Ooh.
Woohoo! And went to British American Dramatic Academy.
Wow.
Yes, it sounds very fancy.
It's very fancy.
It's not.
Very posh here at the
Very
British
posh.
American.
Oh. But I figured out that, men will buy you drinks.
Yeah, you did.
But then I figured out that sometimes they will give you money to go buy a drink. And then you can take that money and then go find
really?
go find another man to buy you a drink, so you can make money.
That
was fucking
the
epic.
thing I learned, because I'm quite the opposite as far as my
Buying
physique.
women drink. Oh, okay.
I learned that if I put on a black t-shirt and jeans, I could stand out in front of a bar.
Oh, and be a bouncer?
And people, like, I would just stand there. And people would walk up with their IDs out. Because especially in Daytona, like, it's a lot of tourists and stuff.
And then would you get tipped?
And then I'd go $5.
No, yes. That's fucking
If they showed me their
amazing.
ID and it wasn't from Daytona, because I grew up there, so I knew the area real well. So if it wasn't from, like, Daytona, New Smyrna, Holly Hill, South Daytona, like, if it wasn't from a city that I immediately recognized, I'd go $5. It's a $5 cover. And they would go, oh, okay, cool, no problem. And then they would just like, and you make like $30-$35 and then you just walk away.
Honestly, I feel like that's a good business. You should do that here.
It's crazy because just with my demeanor and physique, I have an intimidating manner, I guess. So I would just stand outside. You just stand there with your arms crossed, literally like right next to the door, and people would just walk up and show you their IDs.
I love how dumb people are.
Oh my God.
Like,
people are sheep. I say it all the
so
time.
stupid.
And we learn this in the service industry, especially, and as like obviously acting and through comedy. People want to be led. Like people want you to like take the reins. And it's so funny how often, because it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes there are dudes who try to like alpha.
Yeah.
Especially dudes. They'll be like so people at the table will be like, we don't know what to get, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, oh, why don't we do this for the table and this and that? And it's a great plan because I've been doing this a long time. I have my 10,000 hours. This is perfect for this table.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the guy will be like, actually, I want to do this. And then the food comes out and he's like, I should have listened. And I'm like, yeah, man, I've been doing this a long time. But most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, people are just like, that's a great idea. Let's do what he says. And you're like,
totally.
Oh, you guys are so dumb.
So dumb. They're so dumb.
Or especially in comedy when you have like a joke where you're like, this is super deep. And then you get crickets. And then the next comic goes up and like humps the stool and everyone's like dying. And you're like, fuck. People are so dumb.
They're so dumb. Well, it's funny. I haven't done, so I did a little bit of stand-up.
Yeah.
And this is before I was sober. And I started my set with, I thought it was fucking hilarious. I would be like.
Gonna change comedy.
I would be like, hi, I'm Lucy. And I'm an addict. And I'm addicted to dick. That's how it started. start my fucking set.
There you go. That's a way to start. Absolutely.
I thought it was so funny, and I didn't. And I would make jokes.
Would it get laughs?
Yes.
Of course it would.
They loved it. I mean, I
hate people so much.
They fucking loved it. And then but then I have another 2-woman show that I wrote, and I make a joke about AA in there. Like, I was kind of obsessed with AA before I got sober. You know what I mean? Like,
had you gone before you got sober?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there was one time when I was 23, because I had a student. I was a server too when I was first, but I not a good one. I was at a diner or whatever on 113th Street. And then I was like, I don't want to be a server, so I'm going to become a yoga teacher to support myself as an artist, which was kind of a dumb choice because you don't make a lot of money from yoga.
Yeah, I was going to say that's that's like doing
a server,
something
you can
super
actually
niche.
make money. So that's
as a server, they come to you,
dude. Whatever. That was my logic.
Yeah, no, I
fucking followed it. But wait, what was I talking about before?
So you made a lot of jokes about AA before you even went into AA.
Oh right. And so oh my God, it's gone. I don't remember.
Oh really? You were a server, and then you left to become a yoga teacher.
I became a yoga teacher.
23.
20. Oh, okay, I remember. And so I had a student who was counting days. And I'd never been to AA, so of course I was trying to sleep with him.
Yeah.
You know, and there's this thing, if you're getting sober, they suggest don't sleep with someone or date.
Don't get in a relationship
in the first year.
Yeah.
So this poor schmuck is trying to get sober. His yoga teacher is like,
and you're like, hey, downward dog, everybody. Did you know I was addicted to dick?
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, we started hanging out, and I'm like, why isn't this guy fucking me? You know, what's happening here? Anyway, I find but then I start to learn a little bit about AA through him. And then I'm also
people early in AA will tell you all about it. They love sharing.
They love it. And I'm also kind of I wonder if I have a problem. Because if you can... I'm like, I mean, first of all, I was suicidal. I was suicidal. I was drinking and then teaching yoga at 4, having to wake up at 4 a.m., smelling like liquor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was a disaster. And so then this is
the craziest part about all that, because I've been through that same experience, that seems normal to us.
Right. It's
when you wake up super hungover or still a little drunk, you're like, well, this is just how my day starts.
Yeah.
That's an insane thought to be like, oh, this is how we do it.
You stink. I teach hot yoga. So you're
I was going to say, because you had the flames on the side of the bug, you said it was hot yoga.
So you're sweating, and they can smell that shit.
Yeah.
And so
then
then
getting drunk just off of that, the fumes.
I know. And so then I moved to Oakland because anyway, that's a whole other story. But I'm in Oakland, and I'm like, fuck, I think I have a problem. So I went to go to an AA meeting, but I accidentally went to an NA meeting.
Okay.
And I go to the front, and there is in Oakland.
These people are crazy.
Yeah, they were they looked at me. I also dressed up like I was going to church, because my mom is Southern, so I have these Southern impulses, you know. And I was like, I better dress up, you know, and I think it's also the I'm in denial, I don't want to, whatever. So I dressed up. I get there. And they're kind of like, I think you meant to go to the AA meeting, not the NA.
You look too well put together to be around us.
Yeah. So then it was across town. So then I drive to that, and then I'm late.
Yeah, obviously. I was just about to ask that. You're obviously showing up late.
Well, so then I go to the door, and I'm like, I can't go in late. Because from being a Bikram teacher, you can't be late because they won't let you in the room. Mm-hmm. So even though I was always late, I had to learn how to be on time for that fucking. So I taught, and so I could practice. So anyway, so I get to the door. I'm like, I can't go in. I didn't go in for another 10 years.
There you go. Well, I think that's also maybe from the Southern thing that you were talking about, where it's rude to be late. So if you're going to be late, just don't show up at all.
Yeah. Knowing now that it would have been better if I just got in the room.
There is, again, I've been sober for a few years now, a number of years now, and there are still times, to your point, where someone will be like, oh, this is a good meeting, you should check it out. But like they're not going with me.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. My anxiety, my social anxiety is as such where if I know someone in the group, I'm like Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire.
Right.
I'm like, I'm hot. I'm like talking to people and like shooting the shit. I cannot do cold opens. I cannot just walk into a room. You know what I mean? Like I can't. So if I like, people will be like, oh, this is a great meeting. You have to go to it. And I will get to the door. And if no one's outside smoking, that I can kind of accidentally be like, oh, hey, is this where the meeting is? Like if nobody's around, I will stand at the door in utter sheer panic and walk away. No. I did it at open mics when I first moved to New York. Like it took me a lot to be like, just go in the fucking room. And eventually I did with comedy. But with that kind of stuff, with like recovery stuff, it's like, well, I've got my sponsor, like I got my stuff, like I don't have to do this one. I can do something else.
Yeah.
And then there was enough times where I went with like friends to certain things that I kind of got comfortable in that whole community around here. But yeah, like this happened like literally like 3 months ago.
Oh my
I
God.
was like, I need to start going to more in person. And I looked one up on my phone and I was like, it's right around the corner. And I was like, right on time. But to the point where you're like, I know they're already reading like I'm going to walk in during the preamble. And I was like, no, I'm going to go home. I was like, I'm already late. Like, I'm not going to.
That's impressive that you actually, well, not just the recovery part, but like are a stand-up, because open mics are fucking murder.
It's crippling.
Yeah.
My anxiety with that kind of stuff is
terrible.
crippling. That's why a lot of times like I find the ones I want to go to, and those are the ones that I go to, which isn't good for the development of art because you're not pushing yourself because you're around like your friends and stuff like that. But also it's like I get super uncomfortable. And it's weird too because again, if I walk in somewhere and I know this is another reason why like when I played college football and stuff, like I would sleep with, I had ended up sleeping with like a lot of women, but it was all because we would all
bragging.
be, well,
Okay.
but my point is it was because we were all be at like a party together or I would meet them through work or it was like a friend of a friend. I never in my entire life, I'm 37 now, I have never been good at just walking up to someone and talking to, I remember
and hitting on them.
Yeah. I'm so bad.
Yeah.
I remember being 16. And this is before I drank because I didn't start drinking until I was 18. I remember being 16 and my buddy Daniel, who's from London, he lived in Daytona. And I remember we used to go like to the boardwalk because he just wanted to hit on chicks. And he'd be like, and we would always go and we would spend the whole time where I would say like, oh no, not those girls. And then we would never hit on anyone because he wouldn't do it unless I did it. And then we would go back home. And we did that like 1,000 times where I was just like, I can't
So do you
this.
like it when you were younger? Did you like it when girls hit on you?
I could never read the room. Like people would be like, she's flirting with you. And I'd be like, no, we're just talking. I used to, when I spent all that money in Daytona, that settlement money, I would go into strip clubs and pay for dances just so I could go in the back and talk to the girls. Like I am very bad at that stuff.
It's so funny. That makes my like internal world feel better because I feel because
I know I look like the kind of guy who'd put something in your drink, but I'm like, I'm not even going to talk to you.
But like we think that all men are just like so confident and like just, and then there's that whole thing. Like I was just watching Sex and the City last night where it's like, I know I got back on it and now I'm on the ride, but where they're like, he's just not that into you. Which I think is true to a certain extent, but we don't take account for like social anxiety and all this other shit where it's like, okay, some men truly are just not that into you, but some also like are having an internal experience that is like making it hard for them to maybe put themselves out there.
That's me. I would never. I remember the only time I would do it is if I was really, really drunk.
Yeah.
And I used to joke about it in college. I was like an alchemist where like I would have to be like, well, I have to get drunk enough to be able to talk to women, but not too drunk to where I make an ass out of myself. And I'd be like, all right, so 1 shot here, 2 shots there.
Right.
Like we'll sprinkle like maybe a mixed drink in there somewhere. And I always ended up going way over. And I'd be like, listen, we should make sweet, sweet love. Like, you know, I like you.
Sweet love.
I remember when it got really bad, and I try to do this on stage, but again, it goes back to like people were like, versus laughing. I've wanted kids since I was 12. Like when my parents got divorced, I was like, oh, I'm going to have kids and we're going to rock this.
That's very sweet.
Or weird, but yeah, sweet. I like sweet. But I remember I used to say when I was in my late 20s. So after I went to rehab, I relapsed. So in my late 20s, I'd be at bars. And I drank alone a lot of the time.
No, would you lead with that?
But every time.
No, please.
So the breakfast place that I worked at that I'd get drunk at was right across the street from the Ale House, which is like a big drinking spot in Florida.
Okay.
So I'd get off of work at like 2:33, walk across the street to Ale House, drink till like 6, go home and pass out, and then get up at 6 a.m. the next day to go to work. And I remember sometimes the bartender would be like, oh, Brennan's, that person at the end of the bar thinks you're really cute. And I would go up and be like, hey, do you want to have kids?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And I would say, well, that actually doesn't matter. I just need you to be a vessel to carry my children.
God.
And I was like, that was when I was like, I got to stop drinking in public.
You're like those women that do that.
Yeah. It was so bad. I was
hilarious.
So bad. And then, so it was
They're
terrible.
Like, that's so hot.
My natural instinct is to be like, I'm not talking to anybody.
Wow. I see. Mine is like almost the exact opposite. Like I will talk to you, but it's like I'm a throw. Like I will throw myself at you.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not hot. It's, and it's like, and then I get bigger and dirtier and vulgar. And then they're just like, I don't know what they feel. I think they're just like terror. I'm sure it's terror.
Absolute terror.
It's probably terror. And then there's like the ones like the crazy who was crazier than I, who are like, yeah, she's fun, and then we get up to like no good.
Yeah, because that can be very toxic.
Oh, so toxic. But I mean, I
love how
literally
you looked to the heavens when you said that. Like you're like, yeah.
I mean, this is when I was sober. I want to say their names. Well, maybe they won't ever listen to this, but
Or you could just say different names.
No, but the name is what's so good.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's Reckless. That's the name.
What?
His name is Reckless. And
It's a peculiar name.
I mean, he gave himself that name.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
But his fucking name is Reckless. And this guy, I mean, he has a split tongue.
Yeah, he does.
And this is terrible. I mean, whatever, we're going there. And he has beads in his penis.
Yeah.
To make it ribbed.
Yeah, I've seen
I like that I explained it. You're like, I got it.
Yeah.
You're like,
I've seen that in some documentaries I've watched.
Oh my God, this fucking guy. Woo. But
Was he reckless?
yeah.
Very much.
But
He earned the
fun.
name.
Yeah. He's a sweet guy, actually. But if I was drunk, like, thank God I was sober when I met that guy. Because if I was like,
You'd be dead.
yeah.
You'd definitely be dead.
I mean, yeah, it's wild.
Well, let's talk about it. So you sent me a couple of stories, but
I did.
a couple kind of standard questions I always ask my guests, especially guests who are now sober, because I find this fascinating. When did you first discover drinking?
Oh, well.
Like, let me give you, just for context, I saw, like, people in my family drank, but, like, I have an ex-stepdad who got, like, real aggressive and stuff, so I was like, I'm never going to drink. And then at 18, I finally tried drinking, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then I, like, was kind of like, oh, I'm, like, the party guy now.
Right.
So for you, what were you, like, in middle school? Were you, like, a popular kid? Were you going to, like, house parties? Like, how did it happen?
So I was, like, when I was, like, 13, my sisters were in college.
Okay.
And my best friend and I were going to visit my sister at college.
Okay, at 13, let's go.
And we were like, we're going to drink. And so they got us.
Like the Seven Dwarfs.
Blue
just
Moon.
Hi ho, it's off to drink we go.
Yes, exactly. They got us fucking Blue Moon, which
beer.
is so weird. And we beer bonged.
You beer bonged
That was
Blue
my
Moon.
first drink.
A Belgian ale you beer bonged.
I beer bonged a Belgian ale. And then we were in her dorm. She lived next door to these boys, and we were like in their room with them and stuff.
Was this a party school or was this like a...
It was Fort Lewis in Durango.
So a little smaller school.
Yeah, and so we're in there. They're like having a house, like not a house party. It's
Yeah,
like
a dorm
dorm
party, yeah.
And we're like, at first, I'm the life of the party. They're like laughing at me. I'm so funny, ha ha ha.
Does your sister make it very aware to everyone there that you're 13?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's like my little sisters are here,
Yeah.
like, aren't they cute?
Yeah.
Let's get them drunk. And then
Because that could go really, really dark.
Oh, no.
Very quickly.
I mean, I did have like boobs when I was little, and men did think I was like way older than I was. But these guys were all aware that I was the younger sister. Like I think she was dating this guy.
Okay.
Anyway,
so they were all aware, like, hey, let's get the 13-year-olds drunk and watch them run around.
Yeah. Then we start to be annoying.
Yeah, of course.
And then I start vomiting. And then she puts me in her room with my friend Catherine. I piss my pants. I vomit. This is the beginning
really
of my drinking.
Go.
Yeah. Then the next day we're supposed to go skiing. We were in Colorado. And I'm vomiting in the bushes. And my dad is there, and my dad is clueless. He's like, "Oh, honey," he's Southern too. He's like, "You don't feel well. I'm so
must
sorry."
have gotten a bug.
Yeah. And so we don't go. He goes, whatever. He does his own thing. I have like alcohol poisoning. I'm vomiting like I've never vomited before.
Did you know it was from the drinking?
Yes.
Okay.
But then I like couldn't wait to do it again, you know?
Yeah. Oh, do I know?
I'm like, do you know? And then...
Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get it?
Do you get it?
Do you get it? Do you get it?
Do you get it? Do you get it? But so then I'm like... Then I went to... When I moved to St. Louis, I went to like this private school where if you drank or had sex, you would get kicked out.
Okay.
And so this is always funny to me. So I actually had a boyfriend... But, like, I was like, we can't have sex because I need to drink. Like, and I can't do both bad things. Like, if I do all the bad things.
You'll get caught.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. But I need to choose, and I'm choosing drinking.
There you go.
So,
well, I mean, that makes more sense.
does it?
Well, I'm just saying, from all the comedy I've seen in my life, apparently men like having sex a lot more than women. So if I had to choose, I would choose drinking too. I mean, full disclosure, I chose drinking as well, and I'm a dude.
Right.
But I was like, no, I'm going to gain 100 pounds and just get drunk by myself every day because this is way better than having sex with, like, attractive people.
Yeah, this is better.
Have you ever watched Burn Notice Hammered? That's way more fun than banging.
Than banging. I know. Well, yeah, so I drank all, and then...
So you're like 14 at this point, and you're just...
Yeah, well, the 13-year-old thing happened. I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
Then that was like, I think then there was, I wasn't off to the races.
Okay.
Because I still was little.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I had that boyfriend who was a little bit older.
Okay.
And then he had outside friends that didn't go to the school. So we could get like drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when like my love for blacking out and, I was a blackout drinker.
Yeah.
And I would. Did you ever do the thing where like
Probably.
you were so drunk that your body would then like fall to the floor, and then you were like you couldn't, like there was a door there and you couldn't get to the door.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you're just like like that was me.
You're almost like in paralysis where you're like,
Yeah.
I know I need to get there, but I can't. Get
and
up.
then you might get up and then you just spin and like fall back
The
over.
spins were the worst. And so many people were like, oh, just like lay on your bed with your foot out of your bed.
Ew.
Or like do this, like sit up straight or do all that. And I was just like, this is terrible. Luckily, I say luckily, but that was maybe unluckily. I had built up a tolerance pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So very rarely did I get the spins.
Oh.
Which was great because the spins were the bane of my existence.
Spins, man. Well, so that reminds me of when I got my fake ID, because when I moved to New York, I needed a fake ID.
Obviously.
And I worked at this restaurant on 113th Street. And then my boyfriend, that same boyfriend who I wouldn't have sex with, moved to New York
Oh,
for
so
me.
you guys were together for a while.
Yeah, for 4 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
We eventually lost our virginity together.
Aww.
And I eventually was like, Dana, what the fuck? Why aren't we having sex? And he's
He was like, you did this.
Yeah.
You did this.
Yeah. It was like, I'm feeling, and I'm like, well, I want to have sex. And he's like, great. I've been fucking wanting this for like, but anyway, so now we're in New York. We found this guy to do a fake ID, of course, like a Columbia student.
Definitely thought you were going somewhere else with that when you said Columbia.
like Columbia.
We found someone to do a fake ID, obviously a Colombian.
I know,
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx. No, like Columbia
An Ivy League
University.
Columbia student, yes.
Like a smarty pants who's like, I can figure out how to do a fake
Yeah.
ID. And so we go.
He took it as a challenge.
Yeah. I'm so wasted. Like, I was supposed to not get drunk because I had to go take my picture. So he could
Oh, this is before you even have the ID.
Yeah, this was like to get the ID so he could work his magic.
Yeah.
So, but of course I get wasted. Mm-hmm. So now Dana's like, Lucy, we have this appointment, you know, and I'm like spinning. Like I can't walk. So we get to the dorm. I'm like, oh, like hitting the walls.
Yeah.
Like, so what ends up happening is I have to stand against the wall as he takes the picture, but I can't stand up. So I'm now like hunched over.
Oh, God.
Dana literally, they're like 1, 2, 3, pushes me up against the wall.
So your picture's like, ah.
Yeah, and then I like slump back over.
It's crazy because working in the restaurant industry, I see, because like we tell these stories and we kind of like, yeah, obviously we joke about them and stuff like that. That's what the show is.
Yeah.
But working in the restaurant now, I don't know what it is, but like if the second I see someone's head like kind of go down a little, I'm like, they're cut off, get them out of here.
Yeah.
But we're like having full adventures like in that mode, and it's like, oh yeah, people can handle like they can get up and go, like they're all right.
I know, but I mean, you know, there's the whole like the next morning treasure hunt where you're like
playing detective.
Yeah, you're like, oh, there's my keys.
Yeah.
Oh, there's I don't know, like a wrapper.
Keys, wallet, cell phone was always my thing. Keys, wallet, cell phone.
But
keys,
like
wallet,
you start to there was, I think I wrote this down, that moonshine.
Yeah, what was that about? Because that was in Bushwick.
In Bushwick, I lived in this artist loft called Elder Lofts, and we had it was kind of like Neverland. Mm-hmm. Like there was built out spaces, and there was a secret passageway from one loft to the other loft. It was this wild.
This actually sounds pretty cool.
It's fucking amazing. Like it's insane, but like, and it's sad because like they're starting to tear them down and just like rent them out to fucking tech people, but whatever, it's a different story. But so it's like this magic place, and I had this one woman, Christine, she was like very witchy and would like make like cordials and stuff.
Exactly. When you say very witchy, that immediately I'm like, oh, I know this person.
Like this is the kind of woman, like we had no real walls, right? So like if someone was having sex, you would just hear everything.
Yeah.
And she legit said to me one morning, like I had sex with this guy. I love this. Oh, he's a comedian. Zardon. I fucking love his name. But anyway, she's like, I love your noise, your lovemaking sounds.
There you go.
And I was like, ew. Like Christine, like that's the kind of like feely, touchy woman she was. So she made this moonshine or got it or something. So we all, like there was like 7 of us who lived in this loft. So we all take the moonshine and like go, I think there was karaoke. We did a whole thing. But it was like, I went on this like magical journey. I completely blacked out. I don't remember anything, but I just woke up the next morning like a vampire. You know, just like I had one button undone, but I was completely clothed. Like I don't even know how I got
just
there.
Stiff as a board, just like open your eyes.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck happened last night?
Did you play detective? Did you figure out what went on? Or were you just kind of like, I'm going to chalk this one up? I just don't remember.
I think I might have played a little detective and found out there was like a house party that I went to and like all this stuff. But I was more just like so tickled by the
Waking
vampire.
up,
Like, and just like, I was like,
I'm fully clothed. Who's addicted to dick now?
Yeah. Like, it's not that good of a story, but it made me laugh. Like, just that, like, this, like, how can you forget an entire night?
Well,
of your life?
That's one. It's scary too because in Florida we drive.
Yeah, no, that's
so there were so
scary.
many times where I would wake up, and I'm not proud of it. And of course, we don't condone drinking and driving, especially now with Uber and Lyft. But even before, like I remember waking up so many times in college when I knew I went to the bar. Like I remember going to the bar. I remember getting to the bar. Because there was this bar in South Florida in Delray called O'Brien's. Shout out O'Brien's. I don't think it's there anymore. But Thursday they would do half price drinks.
Yeah.
So there was, when I was like 2010-ish, so when I was like still in college, they outlawed the buy one, get one. Because that used to be a big thing. Like even Outback, where I worked forever as a server, we did happy hour was buy one, get one.
Right.
But then there's so many DUIs and accidents and people dying that they outlawed. They were like, you can no longer do buy one, get one. So the way around that was you did half price because it's the same thing. But you don't force people to drink 2 if they only want to drink 1. So they did half price alcohol on everything.
Oh,
Top shelf all the way down to bottom shelf, half price every Thursday at O'Brien's. And so every Friday, I spent like waking up in that panic, like keys, wallet, cell phone, and then looking out of my window into the parking lot. Where's my car? And then every Friday having to do the like check for this, check for that. And then eventually that's how I got my DUI, was leaving that same bar on that same kind of a night.
Yeah.
But it was just, and it's weird because when you're in college, you don't, and I'm sure you can relate to this, you don't think about consequences like that. You're just kind of like, let it rip. Like, here we go. And there's so many, like, I've had friends die from accidents, drinking and driving. I know people who have killed other people. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is really bad.
It's so bad.
Like, it's a 5,000-pound killing machine if you want it to be. And I used to be so arrogant. I used to be like, with power steering and technology now, the car drives itself. Like, I just basically have to hold the wheel and go home. And I was like, I'm such a moron.
I know. I mean, both of my parents were in very serious drunk driving accidents. So, like, my mom went through the windshield and almost died. But they had told us these stories since we were young. Like, and so but I still drove drunk.
Really?
Yeah.
Even after those traumatic stories?
Yes. That's how fucked up alcoholism is.
Yeah.
It's like, and I was I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and
I'll be the exception.
But I would also have, like, this guilt, this crippling guilt of, like, I knew the consequences and I would still fucking do it. But then also, like, well, like, so there's another blackout story, the one at theater school where, like, we had this big party where it was like the tragedy block. We were studying tragedy.
Oh, okay.
So we had like we thought it was so clever to have like a big funeral party.
There
so everyone
big memorial?
Yeah. So everyone's dressed in funeral garb and gear, like very dramatically.
Was this in London or was this back here?
This is now in California. This is my grad school. It's called Del Arte International School of Physical Theater. But
Del Arte.
Del Arte. But so, like, I brought this, my boyfriend, had we broke? Anyway, I can't remember. This guy that I was
you were
seeing.
boning.
Yeah. I mean, he was like kind of a love person. But anyway, I had a bottle of Patron. No, I think we had broken up.
Okay.
And why did he give me? Oh, no, I wasn't sober. He gave me a bottle of Patron. And which to me always felt like really fancy.
Yeah.
So I brought.
It was. When we were younger, it definitely was.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I brought the Patron to the funeral party. Did not share it with anyone. I just drank the Patron.
Really?
Yeah. So,
that used to be my move too.
Yeah. So I was so greedy.
I would
and
keep
selfish.
liquor in my bag. I would bring my own handle to parties in college.
Yeah.
So then they'd be like $5 for a cup. And I was like, no, I'm good. I got mine right here. And then if I poured you a shot, it's because you were special to me.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was doing. So then I'm drinking the Patron. We all end up down at the river. There was a river in this town. We're all now naked. Well, okay. I don't know if everyone is. It's mostly like I'm always naked.
Definitely naked.
But I still have like this funeral hat on. This like, and I had made mascara. Like she had been crying, so I had like mascara all down my face.
So you did that on. Oh, that's super smart.
And then
really fit in the theme.
Really fit in the theme. But now I'm like wasted and in the river. But then I have boots on. Anyway, it ends up with me with this guy Jan, and we're going back to my apartment, and I lived with my friend Ariel, who lives in the city. And we come from like, we're both so wasted. We come from the river. We're in like funeral things. I don't know.
Clothes back on? Clothes still off?
I can't remember, but I know we have boots on.
Yeah.
Because now we're both squatting. Ariel is sober and watching the whole situation. We're squatting and trying to take each other's boots off.
Oh, really?
But we can't because we're both like squatting in the boots.
Yeah.
And she's just like witnessing this whole thing. And finally, I guess we somehow get the boots off. I sit down on the couch and just fling back and like slam my head against the wall. I'm like so wasted. And then we're going to go have sex. So like we're going at it. And then I guess I
love your sounds.
I can't really remember. We end up in the shower. We pull the pole down. We break that. Then like we're slamming all over the place. Ariel is just like, oh my God, like listening to this whole thing, you know? And then in the morning, Jan is gone. And I'm like, what happened? And then I don't even know if we had sex or not.
Just a lot of stuff falling over.
But it's terrible because then I talked to him later and he's like, no, we didn't have sex. But then Ariel's like, it's definitely sounded like you're having sex.
Yeah.
And I'm like as a now sober woman, I'm like, that is so fucked up, like, and dangerous. Like,
Yo, yeah.
And like, he didn't even like, was he lying to me? Was he not?
He could have just not remembered.
He didn't remember. Like, but we had this
could
whole
have had
blackout.
issues with performance, being that drunk.
Oh, maybe that's what happened.
I've
that
been
actually
there.
makes me feel better.
I've been there a lot.
Yeah. It's like,
Been there quite a few times.
oh my God.
I've been sober for a long time, and I'm still there sometimes.
It's just like,
My anxiety's a real thing, people.
yeah, that's hard.
They're
Or not, or soft, I should say.
Hey! Addicted to sex. Or dick, excuse me. I really want to make that the title, but there's no way that could be the title. It is a weird thing, the blacking out, because to your point, like I'm not a ladies' man, but there are plenty of times that I've woken up and been like, did we not? What happened?
Well, and when they're gone, like that's scary too. Or when you're in someone's bed that you don't remember how you got there.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's
you wake
really
up.
scary.
I remember one time I was at a party. I think I've told this story before, but I was at this house party with a bunch of football players. And this is when I was like, I think a sophomore, and I was like, because I only played my freshman and sophomore year, then I got my 8th concussion, and they're like, yeah, you're not playing football anymore. And I was like,
no.
And then by my junior year, that's when I was like drinking like crazy and partying. But I remember being at this party and being like, oh, I'm gonna like get really drunk tonight. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And all the other football players, you know, they're very much like that stereotypical like locker room talk, like, and I was like, because I've never been that guy, as we've discussed, and I never was that guy. But I was like, you know,
I just want to have their babies.
Oh, yeah. But I was like, very much like, you know, there's a lot of attractive people at this school. There's a lot of attractive people at this party. I'm an attractive person. I play college football. Like, I'm going to be more aggressive about like trying to like, you know, put myself out there.
Yeah.
And so this is the only time I've ever done this. This one party, I was like talking to this girl, very pretty. And I remember bits and pieces, but I remember she was like, and I was like, oh, I'm in. But really, realistically, probably if you were like looking at it from the outside, I was probably like, hey, baby, like, you know what I mean? But in my head, I was like, oh, she's digging me. You know, she's feeling my vibe. And so she's like, oh, I'm going to get out of here. And I thought that was an invitation. So I was like, all right, yeah, let's get out of here.
Oh,
and she
was just getting out.
Yeah, and she wasn't even really drinking, because I remember she was like, yeah, I'm not even that, like, I barely drank. I'm going to drive home. And I was like, all right, baby, let's go.
Oh, no.
And I got in the car, and I remember her saying specifically, like, my boyfriend's coming to meet me at my apartment. Which, again, I'm very bad about reading signals, as we've discussed. But if she would have just been like, no, I'm going home alone, I would have been like, okay, like, all of that like fake machismo would have
let you in the car.
I have no idea, but all of that fake machismo would have gone right out the window, because I was hanging on by a thread, because I normally don't act like this anyway.
Oh God.
And so
this is funny.
So we get to her apartment, and I remember her being like, yeah, my boyfriend's coming over. And I was like, and then like the natural me kicks in. I was like, oh, that's cool. No, that's totally cool. I'm just gonna sit here on the couch. Like, I'm just gonna. And I remember waking up like 6 hours later, like I passed out. And I remember waking up like 6 hours later, not knowing where I was, not knowing how I got there, and a sheer panic of like, where the fuck am I?
Wait, did you ever meet the boyfriend?
I don't even remember her. Like, these are bits and pieces in my head. But it wasn't like a friend that I run into all the time. Like, it wasn't someone in our group. Like, it was just someone who happened to be at the party. And I remember I was so desperate to get out of there. Like, I just made sure I had my keys. My phone was dead. And it was like a shitty phone from like 2010.
Yeah.
My phone was dead, and I grabbed my wallet. And I remember I had like $50 in cash in my wallet, but I had no ability to call anybody. This is obviously way before like Uber and Lyft and stuff like that. So I remember leaving the apartment, and I threw on flip-flops. They were her flip-flops.
Oh, shit.
Because I remember I walked out, and I used to always have, and I still have this theory where people get lost too easily. I'm always like, if you end up somewhere and you don't know where you are, just keep going in one direction. Like, don't double back, don't turn around, don't make a left or a right, just walk straight. And eventually you will run into civilization. Eventually.
Right.
That's always kind of been my theory, because people always get turned around because they like backtrack and stuff. So in my head, I'm like, I'm a genius. I'm just going to do my thing where I walk straight. So I do that. I end up on the other side of town. Had I just turned around and walked the other way, my dorm was like 2 blocks away. But I walked the other way, and I walked 3 miles, like through these fields and stuff. Like, not even fields, like it's Florida, so it's just like open lots.
No.
I'm walking in the dirt. There's no sidewalks anywhere. And I end up like getting to this major road, and I pass out in front of an ABC Liquor. Because it's a Sunday, and they don't open till like noon. And it's like 6 a.m. So I'm like, oh, I'll just wait here. When they open, I have $50. I'll get a little like hair of the dog, kind of reset, because I'm dying.
Yeah, I get
I was like,
it.
I'll reset. And the cop showed up, and they're like, the fuck you? They thought I was like a homeless, like just vagrant. And I was like, no, I go to FAU. It was a long night. Like I was like, I have money. I just need to get back to the dorms. So they called me. They ended up calling me a cab. Thank God, white privilege. But they ended up calling me a cab, and they were like, all right, you fucking pay this guy.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, this was my first introduction to the police, because I hadn't really dealt with them.
Right.
And I remember I went to shake his hand, because my dad always taught me respect. Firm handshake, look someone in the eye. I was like, thank you so much. And he goes, don't touch me. I don't know where you've been. And immediately I was like, I fucking hate the police.
Oh my God.
And then I would be arrested 8 times after that. And then I would really be like, I don't like the police.
Hate the police. Oh my God.
But that's a long-winded story, and I'm sorry, but it was just like, when you said the terror of waking up somewhere where you don't know where you are, it's so real.
It brings back, like, it's funny too, because I feel like all these stories to me, I was the kind of person who would like the next day tell this story and make it the fucking funniest thing in the world. And like now, even when I tell, like I was thinking about coming here today too, and I was like, oh, I don't really think these stories are that funny anymore. Yeah. like they are funny, but they're also just like if I think about my 16-year-old niece, like she was very naive and like sweet and has never had a drink or like, she's, but I'm just like, oh my God, like thinking of her at 18 doing what I did in New York City.
I am shocked. I'm still alive, and when I see other people like partying like in an aggressive way, I'm like, how is this not like instant death?
Well, I saw someone the other night on the street, like fully. I was in my car, I was dropping my friend off. I don't drive that much. I am a city person, but anyway, I'm dropping my friend off. We look over, drunk woman, and she looks like she's ODing. Like her face is pale. I like spring to action. I'm like, we got to call 911. So I get out. Her friends, now they're all laying on the sidewalk together. Yeah. And I'm like,
solidarity.
I'm like, are we okay? Like, should I call 911? And they're like, oh, she's fine.
Yeah.
She's fine. And then Lauren, my friend, lived across the street from her. So she was like monitoring the situation. Then she ends up vomiting all over the street, which is good because it means she's fine. But I was just like, oh my God, like this is so stressful.
I get such panic. And I don't know, this actually, to your point, this might come from like being sober now. I get such panic when I see people like out of it drunk.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I have to help this person.
Yeah.
But obviously in my head, I'm like, you logistically and realistically, you can't. Like they gotta, like they're with their friends. Right. They've got to learn. But in my head, I'm like, I can fix this.
Right.
Like I've been here a million times. Like don't even take the sobriety aspect out of it. It's just like, I know how to get you home safe.
Right.
And this is something that I had to learn in my, especially since getting sober, was people are grown-ups.
Yeah.
And unless it's like an actual life and death situation in that moment, you got to let them figure it out.
Totally.
Because there are so many times when I first got sober, because I'd be around drinking. Obviously, I work in the service industry, but I wouldn't drink, but I'd be around it, where I'd be at bars and I'd be like, no, I can't leave. I have to make sure everyone gets home okay. Or I have to make sure everyone takes an Uber or a Lyft or a taxi. And then it got to the point where I was like, this is making me miserable babysitting everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, they're grown-ups. Like, if you guys want to get shithoused, I'm all for it. Lord knows I've done that a million times. But no one was there backing me up. So I'm not going to be here to back you. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, you can't.
it's hard because we want to take on that. We want to.
We want to help. I mean, that's why you should see our play.
Yes.
Because that's
full
the way
circle all the way back to the play.
To support, like, yeah, just healing and getting, I mean, whatever. That's the thing about, like, recovery and getting sober is, like, I heard it over and over and over that I needed help and stuff, and I even knew it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, I don't know, that moment where you're just kind of finally ready. And it was honestly the people in my life who were like my roommate who was sober, he would not judge me. He would even encourage me to drink. He'd be like, yeah. You know, like, there was so much love and just like, but there was this kind of silent, like, but I'm here for you when you're ready.
I've done that. I've done that as well, where I literally had someone say to me, you really are an ex-drinking buddy. Like when I first moved to New York, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you've been sober for years, but you come into like the comedy club and you're like, you guys doing shots? Who's doing shots? You guys drinking? Let's party. But then the second that person like had a bad run and was like, I think I need a meeting, I was also the first person to be like, you need a meeting? Let's hit a meeting.
Everybody gets a meeting. Yeah.
We were out of time because I know you've got somewhere to be, but thank you so much for coming on. Plug the play, plug everything one more time. Social media, anything you want to do.
Okay. So Georgia Mertching is dead. It's March 28th, 29th, and 30th at Brooklyn Art House in Williamsburg. There you can go to the website, Brooklyn Art House. You'll see us there, or we have a what's it called? Instagram. What's that? That social thing.
Social thing that everyone is on.
That app. Instagram. Facegram is Georgia Merchting is. Oh, great. I can't even fucking remember the thing. But
it'll all be linked in the show notes.
It'll be linked. Thank God for links. Look, my face is going red. But please come see the play. It's going to be so great. There's a lot of people in recovery a part of it, which is fun. It's not just about that. It's a good play. So
yeah, it sounds like a great play. Thank you everybody so much for listening at Brennan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. By the time you're listening to this, LA was a blast. I had a great time. And we will be on tour for the Bro Adjacent tour with Matt Fulcheron headlining in Boston, Connecticut, Florida. So get the dates at BrennanTComedy.com. We'll talk to y'all next week. Boom.